Snow covered everything slowly, carefully, as if it had all the time in the world. The road was no longer black. It was pale white, with soft lines where tires had passed earlier in the day. No cars moved now. No people walked. Even the wind seemed tired. In a small town, far from anything important, there was a house. The house did not look special. It had one floor, a sloping roof, and windows that reflected the gray winter sky. Snow rested on the roof without falling. It had been there all day. Inside the house lived a man named Ethan. Ethan was not thinking about anything important. He sat on a wooden chair near the window. The chair made no sound. The floor was cold, but Ethan did not mind. He wore a thick sweater and old socks. The sweater had lost its shape years ago, but it was warm. Outside, snow continued to fall, one snowflake at a time. Ethan watched without emotion. He had been watching for a long time. Time passing slowly. The clock on the wall showed 3:17 p.m. It had shown 3:16 p.m. a long time ago. The clock ticked, but softly. Ethan could hear it only when he paid attention. Most of the time, he did not. He wondered, briefly, how many winters he had already lived through. He did not count. Counting felt unnecessary. The room smelled faintly of dust and old wood. The heater worked quietly in the corner. It made a low sound, steady and boring, the kind of sound that becomes part of the background of life. Ethan stood up. He walked slowly to the kitchen. His footsteps were dull. In the kitchen, everything was clean but plain. No decorations, no bright colors, just white walls, a gray counter, and a small table with two chairs. One chair was always empty. He filled a kettle with water. The water made a soft sound as it flowed. He placed the kettle on the stove. He waited. Waiting was something Ethan was good at. Snow outside, nothing inside. While the water heated, Ethan looked out the small kitchen window. Snow had begun to pile up near the door. The trees outside were thin and bare. Their branches held snow carefully, like fragile thoughts. A bird landed on a branch. It stayed there. It did not sing. Ethan watched until the bird flew away. The kettle began to whistle. Not loudly, just enough. Ethan turned off the stove and poured the water into a cup. He added nothing to it, just hot water. He held the cup with both hands. The warmth moved slowly into his fingers. He stood there, drinking, doing nothing else. The clock moved forward. 3:29 p.m. The meaning of nothing. Ethan returned to the chair by the window. Snow fell thicker now. The world outside became softer, quieter. He thought about the word meaning. He did not try to define it. He had done that before. It had not helped. Somewhere in town, a car engine started, then stopped. A door closed. Silence returned immediately, as if nothing had happened. Ethan felt no sadness. He felt no happiness. He felt present. The snow did not care about him. That felt honest. Evening approaches. The light outside slowly faded. The sky turned from gray to a deeper gray. Streetlights came on one by one, glowing softly through the snow. Ethan turned on a lamp. The lamp gave off a yellow light. It did not reach far. Shadows remained in the corners of the room. Ethan did not move them. He picked up a book from the table. He did not read it. He opened it. He closed it again. That was enough. The heater continued its quiet work. The clock ticked. 5:02 p.m. Dinner without thought. Later, Ethan made dinner. It was simple. Soup from a can. He heated it slowly. He ate standing near the counter. He tasted nothing special. He washed the bowl. He dried it. He placed it back where it belonged. Everything returned to its place. Night and snow. Outside, the snow covered the road completely now. No signs of movement. The town looked like it had been paused. Ethan put on his coat. He opened the door. Cold air entered the house quietly. He stepped outside. Snow crunched under his boots. The sound was slow and soft. He walked a short distance. Then he stopped. He looked around. Nothing moved. Nothing waited for him. Snow landed on his shoulders and melted slowly. He stood there for a long time, thinking nothing, feeling the cold, existing, returning inside. Ethan went back inside. He removed his coat. He sat again by the window. Snow continued. The world continued, without needing him. The clock moved forward. 10:41 p.m. Ethan lay down on the bed. He turned off the light. Darkness arrived gently. The heater hummed. Snow fell. Time passed, and the winter stayed. Morning arrived without asking. There was no alarm. There was no rush. Light slowly entered the room through the thin curtains. It was pale and weak, filtered by clouds and falling snow. The light did not wake Ethan suddenly. It only suggested that time had moved forward. Ethan opened his eyes. He stayed still. The ceiling above him was white. A small crack ran from one corner to the other. He had noticed it many winters ago. It had not changed. He breathed in. He breathed out. The heater had turned off sometime during the night. The room felt cold, but not unpleasant. Cold felt honest. After a while, Ethan sat up. His feet touched the floor. The cold reminded him that he was awake. A slow start. Ethan put on his sweater again. He walked to the window. Outside, the snow had stopped falling, but it had not left. It covered everything in a smooth, unbroken layer. The world looked simpler this way. Fewer details, fewer decisions. No footsteps marked the road. No tire tracks crossed the street. It was as if nobody had needed to go anywhere. Ethan liked that idea. In the kitchen, he filled the kettle once more. The routine felt familiar. The sound of water, the waiting, the quiet whistle. While the water heated, Ethan sat at the table. He placed his hands flat on the surface. The table was cold. He waited until the kettle was ready. Breakfast without meaning. Ethan poured the hot water into a cup. He did not add sugar. He did not add milk. Steam rose briefly, then disappeared. He drank slowly. There was bread on the counter. He took one slice. He ate it without thinking. The taste did not matter. Hunger faded. Outside, a snowplow passed far away. The sound was distant and dull. It did not last long. Silence returned. The clock on the wall now showed 8:46 a.m. Time was moving. Ethan did not feel attached to it. Walking into the snow. Later, Ethan put on his coat again. The coat was heavy. It smelled faintly of cold air and old fabric. He opened the door. The snow outside reflected light upward, making everything brighter than expected. Ethan stepped out carefully. The snow was deep but soft. Each step made a sound. Crunch, pause, crunch. He walked with no direction, past houses that looked the same, past trees that stood still. A few windows showed light inside. Someone else was awake. Someone else was doing something ordinary. Ethan did not wonder what. The town exists quietly. At the edge of town, Ethan stopped. There was an open space where the land stretched out flat and white. The sky above was low and heavy. It pressed gently on everything below. Snow began to fall again. Slow flakes, wide spaces between them. Ethan stood there. Cold reached his face. His breath formed small clouds that disappeared quickly. He thought about how small movements disappeared in winter. Footprints filled in. Sounds faded. Even thoughts felt quieter. Returning again. Eventually, Ethan turned back. The walk home felt longer, Or maybe time felt slower. Inside the house, warmth returned gradually. The heater started its low hum again. Ethan removed his coat and placed it on the same hook where it always hung. Nothing had moved while he was gone. The chair waited by the window. The book remained untouched. Ethan sat down. Snow fell. The clock moved forward. Afternoon without events. The afternoon passed. Ethan did nothing important. He looked outside. He sat still. He stood up once, then sat down again. Light shifted slowly across the floor. Shadows changed shape. The world did not ask anything from him. That felt acceptable. At 2:11 p.m., Ethan closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, the room looked the same. Time had passed. Or maybe it had not mattered. Evening comes back. As evening returned, the sky darkened early. Winter never waited for night. It brought it quickly, without apology. Ethan turned on the lamp again. The yellow light felt small but sufficient. He made soup again. He ate it again. The bowl was warm. His hands were steady. Outside, snow continued its slow work. Another night. Later, Ethan stood by the window. Streetlights glowed through the snow. The world looked distant, protected, unreachable. He felt no urge to change anything. That felt calm. When Ethan finally lay down, he did not think about tomorrow. Tomorrow would arrive on its own. The heater hummed. The clock ticked. Snow fell. Winter stayed. Night passed without leaving a mark. There were no dreams that stayed. When morning arrived, it did not feel new. It felt like a continuation of something that had never stopped. Ethan woke slowly. His eyes opened, then closed again, then opened once more. The room was dim. Snowlight reflected faintly through the window, making the darkness softer. The heater had turned itself on again sometime during the early hours. The sound was low, almost comforting. Ethan remained in bed. He listened. Nothing demanded attention. The weight of stillness. The ceiling was the same. The crack was the same. Ethan followed it with his eyes until he reached the far corner. He wondered how many times he had done this before. He did not try to remember. Memory felt heavy. Stillness felt lighter. After a while, he sat up. The floor was cold again. Cold always returned. That felt reliable. A morning repeated. In the kitchen, the kettle waited. Ethan filled it. Water flowed, then stopped. He placed the kettle on the stove. Waiting returned. Outside, the snow fell in a thinner pattern. Not heavy, not light. Just enough to remind the world that winter had not finished speaking. Ethan watched the kettle. He did not think about the past. He did not plan the day. The kettle whistled. He turned off the stove. The routine completed itself. Time without shape. Ethan sat at the table with his cup. Steam rose, disappeared. He took small sips. The clock showed 9:03 a.m. The number meant nothing. Time felt flat. Outside, a single person walked past the window. Their face was hidden by a scarf. Their steps were slow. They did not look toward the house. Then they were gone. The street returned to emptiness. Thoughts that do not stay. Ethan wondered if existence always felt like this, or if winter made it easier to notice. Snow removed distractions. Silence made space. In that space, there was no clear answer, only presence. He placed the empty cup in the sink. He did not wash it immediately. Delay felt natural. Sitting with nothing, Ethan returned to the chair by the window. The chair accepted his weight. Outside, snow covered yesterday's footprints. The road looked untouched again. It was as if movement had never happened. That idea stayed with him. Movement disappears. Silence remains. Ethan felt no fear in that thought. Afternoon without direction. The afternoon arrived quietly. Light shifted slightly. The sky remained heavy. Ethan stood once. He walked to the door. He touched the handle. He did not open it. He returned to the chair. Nothing was lost. At 1:47 p.m., the heater stopped briefly, then started again. The pause was noticeable, then forgotten. A short walk, a long moment later, Ethan stepped outside again. The air was sharper now. Snowflakes touched his face and melted. He walked only a few steps away from the house, then stopped. The town felt distant, muted, as if wrapped in thick cloth. He closed his eyes. Cold moved through him. He opened them again. The world had not changed. That felt expected. Evening settles. As evening returned, lights appeared again behind windows. Other lives continued quietly. Ethan did not compare. Comparison felt unnecessary. He made soup again, the same can, the same taste, the same warmth. He ate slowly. The question without an answer. Later, sitting in the dim light, Ethan thought about whether anything needed meaning. Snow did not ask. Winter did not explain itself. It simply existed. Perhaps that was enough. The thought did not stay long. It drifted away like breath in cold air. Night returns. Ethan lay down once more. Darkness arrived. The heater hummed. The clock ticked. Snow fell. The world remained. And Ethan remained with it. Not searching, not waiting, just being.